Hi guys, and welcome back to the Uninkable Dads podcast. This week we'll be breaking down the spiciest DLC decks. We'll be taking a look at what's shaking up the meta, and we have a very special guest, a man who absolutely crushed it at CCQ and the Purple Steel Master himself. But before we move on to that, obviously don't forget about our giveaway. But joining me this week, after missing 3 weeks of locals in a row, a man who's clearly saving up all his good luck and top decks for set champs, is Grandackley.
We hope so. Some might say that they've probably been my best 3 performances at locals for a while. But to be fair,
it was guaranteed that you weren't going to be last.
Exactly. I have done worse. To be fair, I did manage to get a game in this week. Just happened to be a friendly game, and I had to leave before the tournament started. But no, it was great to get down there. And
did you win that friendly game though?
I was 1-1 with Panos, but I would have been on the play in game 3. That's my chances.
On the play, you had him. Yeah, no.
To be fair, I was only 1-1 because he bricked kind of horrendously in game 1. But
we don't talk about that.
It's a bit of a strange situation actually, because although I haven't touched much shiny cardboard for a while, all my Lorcana has been virtual. I actually think I'm in a situation where I've got my 60 cards locked in for the weekend. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because some of my best performances at set champs have come with a deck put together the night before, or even as people are starting to try and start round 1 of the tournament. So it's a bit weird to be locked in.
You've got to sleeve it up just as we start. That's just how we work.
So maybe Friday night I'll have some inspiration and change a few cards at the last minute. But currently, I'm feeling all right with it.
No, good. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really do much. I went to locals, played locals, and then went home, chilled Saturday, watched DLC, which was good. And then set champ Sunday. Unfortunately, didn't do very well. I was playing Blurple. I ran into 6 Amber Steel decks and 2 mirrors for the entire day, and I won 1 dice roll against Amber Steel, and that's the 1 Amber Steel game I won. The rest of them I all lost. So yeah, I come away from there like I never want to see a Daisy again. Don't show me Daisy Nala. I don't want to see those 2 cards. But yeah, no, it was a good weekend. So, but yeah, so
I've got one little update. I know because a couple of people have asked how the puppies are doing. So we're going to test Michael's
update.
We're going to test Michael's editing skills, and as if by magic, we're going to have some Disney magic.
Bees.
They are. So a couple of weeks ago, they were 1 day old when they had their debut on the channel. So they're now a couple of weeks old. These two are
the Uninkable puppies.
Uninkable puppies. So these 2 are little brothers. And there's a sister who's well asleep at the moment. But yeah, so those are puppies. So yeah, not quite a play set.
No. You're close enough. Okay, so we will jump into our interview in a second. One thing I do want to do is just a quick reminder for everyone, obviously, about the giveaway. So I actually had someone reach out who was struggling to get the giveaway to work. So I just wanted to run through this quickly with everyone. So the first thing I would recommend doing is using the sign-in box. So you can do it as you click into it. It will then tell you to sign in. So if we click on here and click on here, it will take us, obviously, to the podcast. And then when you go back, it says...
Make sure you subscribe before you go back.
Back to it. It would then... Well, yeah, always subscribe. Always. It would then ask you to log in. Some people, for some reason, having issues with that. I don't know why. It might be phones. It could be anything. So I'd recommend logging in first. So pick one of these. You can log in with any of these. The reason you have to log in isn't for us. We don't get your details or anything like that. It's purely so that way you don't enter 50 times. If you've got 50 emails and you really want the promos that badly, But the idea is obviously log in with an email, then work your way down the list, and it should work perfectly fine. If you've done what the link says, so visit or follow or visit, and this doesn't go green and tick, click on it again, it will refresh. So unfortunately, it's one of those ones it has to realise you've done what you've asked it to do. So I know that my other half had struggles. She followed us on X and it wasn't registering, and then she closed it and went back into it, clicked it again, and it worked. So I think that's just the joy of it trying to link everything together. So, but yeah, if you log in first and then follow your way down, you can get yourself 20 entries. So yeah, it seems to be coming along nicely. Everyone seems to be excited about the Uninkable Dads match. I mean, I'm excited myself. I don't even know what we've got yet. So yeah, so obviously we will get our guest in. So this person doesn't really need an intro. You know, I'm sure a lot of people know who he is. But he had a very good run at CCQ at Cardiff when I was there. He came 9th in Cardiff. And we're going to go through with him a little bit in his background, a little bit of his history, and we're going to pick his brains on this purple steel deck. This purple steel deck seems to be doing extremely well in the current meta, and we want to, you know, dive in there and work out why it's doing it. So, as we have you here, we have some very important questions for you.
Amazing.
So we wanted to know a little bit about the man behind the purple steel deck. So, what are your backgrounds with TCGs, and what brought you to Lorcana in the first place?
I'm about to give you a very exciting answer here, so brace yourselves. My background in TCGs is absolutely nothing.
Nice.
So yeah, Lorcana was my first TCG, really brand new into it. And I can't lie, it was something I was really resistant for. Kind of dragged, almost kicking and screaming into it by one of my friends who needed somebody to practice against. They'd bought a couple of starter decks. I was like, yeah, no, this isn't for me, sorry. But yeah, done it for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden I went from, yeah, this isn't bad to, well, I'm now addicted and need to spend all of my money on this. And then very quickly got involved in it. I've got a very big sport background, so I'm very competing since like age 6. Something that I've always really enjoyed doing, and so I really do like that competitive element in the card game as well. And it's a Disney game as well, so who can complain with a bit of Disney?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So are you a Disney fan? Was that part of the attraction?
I am, yeah. It's I'm a little bit weird with Disney. Sometimes I think it's a little bit hit or miss, but I really enjoy the classics, and then some of the later stuff I've been starting to get into as well. My girlfriend got me watching Zootopia, is it, with Nick Wilde in it. So I finally learned where Portugal actually came from, and that was the most exciting moment of 2025 for me.
It is amazing when you watch some of these films, because it's like I remember I watched Raya and the Last Dragon ages and ages ago with the kids, and then I watched it back a few months ago, and I'm like, oh my god, that's a card! Oh my god, that's a card! That's a card! You just realise where all these things are from, and you're like, even though I've seen the film, I still forget about it. So, yeah.
I think it's the curse of joining Lorcana, isn't it? We stop from going, wow, this is a beautiful film, to I play that card in my deck. I know where it comes from.
Yeah, especially we've got Zootropolis 2 coming out in about a month and a bit.
I'm excited for that. Literally can't wait. I've been really keeping up with the trailers. I'm glued to it. This is going to be my whole fix in November, I'm telling you.
Well, it's a good job Whispers in the World looks like it's going to be quite involved around that. So, you should have some lovely card art to go with it.
I've tried to keep out the spoilers for Whispers a little bit too much, but honestly, I think the next set is going to be absolutely crazy. Some of the cards that come out are just absolutely broken, but I cannot wait. Especially some new shiny cards. That's going to keep you entertained.
So, are you a bit of a collector as well as a player? Do you like filling a binder with some shiny things?
So I've started to be a little bit more organised this year, which is great. Previously, it was a case of I had a very large Asda carrier bag just filled with about 10,000 cards. I think I am the worst nightmare for anyone who collects properly. I just got a lot of prize packs from tournaments, and they kind of just went all into the bag unless I was directly using it in my deck. But I've been fully organised. I now have a binder for every single set. I've got most of the play sets. Most of them are even fully complete. So, very nice.
So, with obviously being new to Lorcana, then obviously the first time I sort of met you and the first time we really sort of bumped ways in the way of obviously we covered your deck list from Axion. So obviously you come second in that. And was that your first major event, or was it?
Yeah, it was a really, really big one for me. It was quite funny. The whole time in the group chat for one of the groups that I play with, I kept sending match updates going, I want another one. How did that work? What do I do now? So it was a little bit odd for me. It went as well as it really could have. I started off with a really bad start to the day, actually. I played against one of my friends in round 1, and I was playing against Ruby Amythest, which was the deck that I was going to bring. And he absolutely slaughtered me 2-0. And I just kind of had that last-minute panic thought of, well, I've messed up. There goes the tournament. You know how it is at big tournaments. I had a little chat with myself, sat myself down, and said, right, what can we do to try and turn things around here? And then all of a sudden, I was just hitting 2-0 after 2-0 after 2-0. Next thing I knew, I was going into the top 8, and then had a really, really quick quarterfinals and semi-finals. Poor Spessy was still playing his game alongside, I think, like an hour and a half later. So I got a nice little sit down with the tournament organizer, put my feet up for a bit, and then hit that massive final at around 11. So you probably saw on the stream, but I was exhausted, absolutely shattered. But so proud of that tournament. Like I say, first big one, and it's always nice kind of getting that under your belt, so you do realise you can do it.
Nice. So obviously you said you've taken part in a few others. It was that your highest placement in a big tournament? Obviously, I know you did really well at CCQ, but obviously I can't think of any other major tournaments there have been. Did you go abroad to any or?
No, it's a shame. It's something that I do want to look into. Obviously, I'm a teacher, so it's a little bit hard for me to take time off to be able to get abroad. So something I need to be a little bit hesitant with. I'm very keen on growing in Lorcana, and I do want this to be part of my career. Hence why I'm doing the YouTube channel. I do have a responsibility to the kids that I teach as well, so I need to kind of focus on both ways. Axion was the first big one, and then the next kind of big follow-on from that was the CCQ. I've done every single set champs known to man. I started at the end of set 4. I've said in quite a few of my videos, but my big kind of funny story for Lorcana is after playing against my friend with these starter decks, I got very confident because I built an aggro dwarf deck. I was like, well, I think I'm the next world champion. This is unbeatable. You'll be surprised to hear I came last place in that store champs after whoops. That's kind of when I got the bit more of the analytical side of Lorcana. I was really looking into the meta, what works, what doesn't work, and then I started taking notes between all my games. I managed to get a one of the Ursula cards at the end of the set, which I was really happy with. And then I've done really well in store champs all the way through. I think I've had 34, 35 top 8 cuts, several wins, and then a lot of top 4s as well. And then it's just kind of going up from there, and every set's been like a new big achievement, which I'm beyond proud of.
So, very nice.
So you've gone from never playing a TCG to winning store champs to second at one of the biggest events in the UK. So that's fantastic. I mean, congratulations first of all. But actually, have you got any tips? Is there anything that you can point to that you think has been that's really helped you with that rise? How you've kind of come to grips with this game so quickly?
100%. It takes a lot of self-reflection, to be honest. I like to kind of be the worst player in the room, if that makes sense. I'm constantly looking around for people that are better than me, so I can constantly learn from them. And I watch a lot of Lorcana as well. I say to a lot of the people I coach at the minute that a lot of my improvements don't actually come from playing the game itself. It comes from analysing what other people are doing. I started trying to play a variety of decks instead of going, okay, cool, I like Ruby Amphist. This will be the only deck I ever play in the format. I learned what everyone else is playing. I have goes at that. And then when I'm playing my own deck, I start to realise what lines other people I'd expect to play if I was playing their deck. So that general kind of knowledge has really, really helped. But like I said a little bit earlier, I take notes on every single game that I play. And the whole part of that is just trying to work out. I'll try and be nice to myself because I do want to motivate myself. I'll try and say the odd 1 or 2 good things that happen in the game. Maybe I learnt a line, maybe I spotted something and predicted something for the forthcoming turns. Maybe I got a really lucky draw. Sometimes a little bit of luck is all you need. And then I will write down what went wrong with it. And then after that, I go back and then I start to realise, okay, this isn't clicking, this isn't clicking, this isn't clicking. From all those notes, you can look into your deck. What is the core? What cards need to be taken up and down on your counts? And like I say, that analytical side of things has really saved my skin in a lot of matches.
Yeah, it's interesting that you sort of say that because I never really thought of it like that. But, I used to play quite high-end competitive Call of Duty and I used to sit there and watch other people play. Not because I enjoyed the game, but to watch for different angles, for different techniques and stuff like that. And I never really thought about that with Lorcana. I always, watch DLC and watch the live streams, and I'm just watching it to be like, I'm enjoying the gameplay. I never really thought I should really be paying attention to exactly what they are doing here. And it shows, you can pick up things just by watching these big streams. They're there for a reason. So, yeah, that's definitely a good one and interesting one to think about for anyone who is trying to pick up tips but don't have the cards to necessarily play the deck. So I'm going to say, if you don't have those cards to play the green-blue deck at the minute, watch someone else play it. You're still going to be able to pick up some of the lines and some of the techniques of the deck through watching someone play it. So, yeah, it was
100%.
interesting.
The DLCs are such a good resource as well. I think people really forget that it's such a collection of like the best players literally in the world. I mean, when I first thought of the Bologna that's just happened, I was very much like, oh yeah, I know a couple of friends that are playing in it, but you quickly forget you've got Zanzed, you've got Ed, you've got DKP playing it. These are such massive, massive players, and the way they look at the game and the lines they see is just so different to your casual player and even your upper end of competitive players. It's so valuable being able to see the way that they take on something. And when you do find yourself in a similar position, you can go, okay, they done this. Is that going to work for me as well? Really valuable resource.
Yeah, no, definitely. So obviously when you played the Amethyst Emerald in Action, but obviously Fabled with the rotation has obviously changed things up quite a bit. So what brought you to Purple Steel? What made you decide that was the deck you wanted to go with?
Yeah, really interesting one actually. So full disclosure, I was Blurple through and through.
Okay.
Blurple was my big kind of pick for the set because I just felt it was the deck that like lost the least. Obviously you lost friends, you lost Porps. It sucked a little bit, but we still had that massive draw engine behind it, which is why I thought it was so powerful to begin with. The big thing that kind of put me off it is when I realised that literally everyone was playing it. I'm really not a fan of playing constant mirror matches. I like to be somebody that's on something a little bit different. Hence, kind of why I went on the Amethyst Emerald at Axion. It was a case of, well, people aren't really playing the tempo build, and they're used to the discard build. So if I go with something a little bit quicker, they're going to prep the wrong direction when they see my colours. And for a lot of players, you can just slide underneath them like that. It was kind of similar with that for the Purple Steel. I was watching the footage for Zatu games, and obviously Alphos played in that tournament, and he done absolutely fantastically, winning that. He was playing Purple Steel there, and Purple Steel is a deck that I've never picked up in my life. It's something that I've had to really teach myself quite quick this set. I was watching his games, and I kind of thought to myself, he's absolutely decimated Blurple, which is the best deck in the format. So if that's doing so well against it, then perhaps it's got a little bit of legs to it. I've done a little bit of research into the deck, and from what I could see, it's often described as a very fair deck. So it doesn't do amazing into its matchups, but it also doesn't really have a bad matchup either. So I kind of liked that, where I could rely on my own ability as a player to get myself through games rather than just either hit the amazing top end curve or I just brick, don't hit any ramp and don't get to play the game whatsoever. So that was the kind of inspiration of having a go at it. So thank you, Alphos.
And you recently recorded an excellent video breaking Purple Steel down in depth. So I've watched it twice for my preps for coming up set champ. So thank you very much.
Not a problem.
We'll link that video in the description below because if people are looking at Purple Steel, it is a really excellent breakdown.
Thank you.
But can you maybe just give us a quick overview, 60-second breakdown maybe of Purple Steel, what the deck's trying to do, and how it plays into those key matchups?
Yeah, 100%. It's realistically, guys, it's such a simple deck to get your head around, which is what I really like about it. The mulligan is very simple and it stays the same in most matches. Effectively, you want your standard 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost, and then Sing Strength. That's your very basics for Purple Steel if you want to have no understanding whatsoever. Realistically, after that, we are a tempo deck, so we want to try and fill the board as much as possible. We get our curve, we try and control the game at the early start so they can't get too far away, they can't run away from us. We build our board state, get it as wide as possible, and you then put yourself in a position where your opponent either finds every single removal card in the game or they just lose to us. We're then in that really nice position of similar to how Ruby Amethyst used to be with like Goat Bounce. We get ourselves to 16 and all you need is a couple of white roses or your giant cobras just to squeeze yourself across the line. Tiago made a very good point about the deck. Obviously, he's been doing so well in America. One of the points that he made was a lot of people base a lot of their luck on dock roulette with the deck, which isn't really the way you want to look at it. When you go into dock, you're putting yourself in that position where you are top decking. So if you don't find any of your draw cards from then on, it's just a case of you're going to lose the game. Dock wants to be almost our panic reset button. You're going to utilise your other cards like Dolores, Dumbo, Genie, or even if you utilise Yzma, build your hand up as much as possible. And then when you eventually run out, then we hit our docks. So as a very basics, get your 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost, control as much as possible, then spam out the board, and you'll win 90% of your games.
There you go. Makes it sound easy,
yeah.
doesn't it? You know?
But if
that's all you got to do, and you'll win yourself champs.
Next world champion.
You know?
I'm going to get the advice tattooed on my forehead just so I don't forget it.
But if someone is interested in playing Purple Steel, they've had a look at your video. They've got a handle on some key lines, but they don't have Dumbos. Does that mean that's it? They've got to chuck it up and go and find a different colour pairing, or can you play the deck without Dumbo?
Luckily, no. Dumbo is not a necessity for Purple Steel. It's a nice kind of like budget range into Lorcana, which is quite nice. Dumbo is just like the kind of fiery bit of flex of, I've got a little bit of cash so I can still play with it. But honestly, I would say Dumbo can be dropped completely, and Yzma would be a fine line to go for. It's going to do just as much as the Dumbo. Don't get me wrong, there are some games where Dumbo has been absolutely clutch for me, and it's in those really higher end matchups where you are in such a stalemate. If you set your board up correctly, Dumbo just goes crazy, which is so nice. But if you're going to utilise it as a turn 4 card or just playing it out and you've not got your evasives built up, it does nothing for you. At the CCQ, that was full of some of the top players in the country. We even had people from other countries like Almeister. I inked Dumbo in most of my games and barely used it. So if you're thinking Dumbo is a clutch point, do not worry. Just make sure that you're filling your deck with other draw options like Yzma, Dolores, Treasure Guardian, just so you have that backup to help alongside your docks, and you'll be absolutely fine with it.
Awesome.
Oh, sounds good.
We had your deck list up from Cardiff, as if by magic. Michael will put that back up, I'm sure. So yeah, just a couple of questions. One of the biggest things I noticed in here was no father cannons.
Yes, yeah. So that was a little bit of a weird one. Alphos is really big on cannons, and I know quite a lot of the other players are. It was really common at Bologna, actually, but it just felt like a little bit of a brick card for me. For me, it's the same reason that I don't run Hypnotic Strength. I want to focus mainly on characters that I can put on the board. So as much as it is nice being able to do that 2 damage, there's a lot of higher willpower characters in the game, so it doesn't really do too much. We're not really in a meta anymore where you can just ping characters off nice and easily because they're low stats. Like even Nala on your Amber Steel list, got resist if she's got no damage on her, so you need 3 to take her out. It just felt like it done nothing for me. Obviously, if we have more cards like Rhino in the meta where damage sits on it, it could be useful to just do a bit of damage in, then take it out with that. But like I say, for me, I just want as many characters as possible to really force my board state. I think the big thing when you're playing is you need to look at what your win con is. And the win con for Purple Steel is having that massive board. So if you put in more cards which are taking away that win con, I just don't think it helps with the game.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I say it's one of those ones of it's fire cannons on their one drop, for instance, to give you that slight board presence is nice, but it also means you're not playing something to the board yourself. Like
exactly.
It's a win-win / lose-lose. You're stopping them from gaining a card, but you're also not gaining one yourself. So
yeah, it's risky. There has been games where I have thought, maybe it could be a nice addition. Green Blue's the perfect, example of it. It's when they get the lower cost Clarabelle out. It is a little bit of a pain because that shift line's coming, but half the time they're going to play another Clarabelle or the 4 cost ones. They're still going to get that option anyway. And if you have utilised that cannons on it instead, and they are able to get something back out, you've just kind of wasted your turn. You've not developed as much, so just feel like it takes away from you a little bit too much.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the mulligan. So obviously, strength of a raging fire is really important in this deck, as you've sort of said. Play through your curve. If you can get that strength off, then you've really got that tempo. So how hard are you mulliganing for strength?
Yeah, most of the time, I'd love strength to be in my hand. It's the main thing is having the turn 1, the turn 2, the turn 3. If I do have those cards, I will tend to send most other things back. I don't keep any 4 costs in my hand, just because I am likely to run into it a little bit later, and we've got quite a few of them as well. Obviously the Elses and Bells, they never stay. If strength is in my hand and I've got the other characters where I can get the 1, 2, 3 next turn sing, then I will keep it in my hand. But I would always rather get 1 cost and 2 cost characters on the board over the strength to begin with. Like I say, the board presence matters a little bit more.
Yeah, like I say, unfortunately, strength is that card that if there's nothing on board, it's not going to do anything. So,
Yeah.
you need that board first. So, yeah. One thing I did notice with your deck list, which surprised me a little bit, especially with how strong Amber Steel is at the minute, is there's no Pete. I know that a lot of people is turn 1, 2, then Pete, and then you use Pete to sing. But you've decided to leave Pete out on this one.
Yeah, it's Pete's. I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but I just think Pete sucks. I really don't like it as a card. For Amber Steel, I think they're just a little bit too quick, that Pete isn't really given as much of a benefit against them. You're going to stop the Strength Erasure Fire, fine, but if they're spending time trying to control my board, I think I'm in a position where I can win that game anyway. It's only when they hit their kind of scary god curve where they just win it in 4 turns where I really do feel a little bit scared of Amber Steel. And in that curve, Pete isn't going to help me whatsoever anyway. Green-blue, it can be nice to try and stop the Under the Sea, but once again, it's a case of, do they even have it in their hand? They tend to brick quite a lot, and they're just going to get it the next turn anyway. It feels like a little bit of a delay, but it's just not really giving anything else towards you. White Rose, I think, is a far stronger option in the deck just because we are getting that passive lore every time that we play it. And then you'll see in my deck as well that I've got the 2 copies of the Mad Mim Elephant, which is really nice for bouncing back Rose or my Giant Cobras or even Doc, and then just gaining lore through there. I tried it. I didn't really find any benefit to playing it. And like I said earlier, when I do my analysis, I always write down what isn't giving me any benefit in the game. And Pete was very quickly one of those cards where I just thought, nah, this sucks.
Fair enough. So, obviously, you came 3rd in Swiss at the CCQ, which 320 players.
Yeah.
And you finished 9th overall. Was there anything you really took from that event and made any big changes about your deck, or was there anything, or did you come away from that going, no, this is the deck, this is locked in now, sort of? Was there anything that really massively changed for you from that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the most important thing is, first of all, celebrating the big win. Like you said, that was a really big event, and the players there, the people that I played against, I had to work for every single game. All the matches were like 2-1s. I had to really, really try and grind on it. I think anything taken away, I learned more about other people's styles rather than, wanting to change my deck. But I have made a couple of changes coming into Store Champs. Yzma, I tend to not really play alongside Dumbo, just because I think it doubles up a little bit. However, with the meta shift that we're going in at the minute, we're going a little bit away from Amber Steel, I think. So it does mean we're slowing down a little bit. And in that slower meta, I think Yzma is going to be really, really clutch. I played a set champs at the weekend at Trident Cards in Mansfield, came 2nd there. Narrowly missed out to Blurple in the finals, so really good result there. The testing went really well. Done some more testing at League last night as well, and the additional draw in the deck just felt really nuts. Like I say, I want to be able to take away from Doc and not rely on Doc as much as a card. So any additional draw that I think we can get into the deck, just so we're not having to use the panic button as much, I think it's going to be a great benefit.
So you've had some great tournament runs. I don't know did you launch your YouTube channel after Axion? I mean, that's where when I sort of first saw you. But was that actually the start of your channel? Okay, so your channel's taken off quickly. Right?
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest.
And you said earlier, you're a teacher. You also offer coaching via Metafy. I mean, how are you balancing testing, playing, content creation, coaching, and teaching?
Quite simply, with a raw lack of sleep. No, it's Lorcana's one of those things where it doesn't feel like a job for me. You know, like I say, this is something that I am trying to turn into a career for myself. It's something that I really love and enjoy. And when you're doing something that you're really passionate about and something that you enjoy doing so much, you know, you can do hours and hours on it, and it just feels like it's been minutes. You know, I can spend the day testing, making YouTube videos, you know, coming onto your guys' channel. Very happy with that, by the way. Thank you so much. And, you know, the day will just absolutely zoom by because it's something I really enjoy. So, yeah, if you do love Lorcana, you know, just keep playing as much as possible. It's such a rewarding game.
Yeah, definitely. It's surprising how we all seem to make this time for some shiny cardboard to lay on a shiny plane, you know.
We're like little magpies, aren't we? We see a little bit of
that's
shine
it.
and glitter. We're like, yeah, that's a bit of me. Go on.
So obviously, with the background of teaching, obviously coaching for you must come almost naturally because it's a game that you love and enjoy. So you're mixing both worlds. You're mixing your teacher world and the game that you love together to do coaching. But what is it about coaching that you love the most? What really draw you into doing coaching?
100%. It's honestly, I really like seeing people improve. One of the best examples that I always give about coaching is I started working with a young lad sometime last year, and he had never made a single store champs. He was performing really badly, just done hyper aggro. That was it. 13, 14 maybe, and we'd spent some time working together. And then it's after 2 months of working together, I got a message from him saying, oh, I just brought your list to a 37 player set champs and I came second. And I was like, oh my God, what? You know, it was so crazy. And I felt a lot of pride in that, knowing that somebody's, you know, benefited from working with me. They've had that positive experience. You know, I really like seeing other people do well. It's a great feeling when you succeed in the game. So it's nice seeing that from others. But honestly, I think it's good for me as well. Obviously, background in sport, it's one of the things I used to do with my archery, with my badminton. I used to coach in that as well. And the main reason for that was because I don't think you can do something successfully if you can't teach it yourself. The more you teach somebody else to do something, the better you become as a player as well. And I'm finding that a lot in my game because I'm having to be more analytical for my students and the people that I'm working with. I'm having to really simplify and give them the knowledge in the way they need it. It helps me to remember things a lot better as well. And it's all things that I can take into my games. So they're definitely benefiting, but I think I'm probably benefiting even more.
So, and if somebody's maybe playing Lorcana, they want to improve a bit, how would they know whether sort of coaching is for them? Who would get the most out of coaching, do you think?
I think it's something that anyone can really benefit from. You know, when I really first started playing, and I mean like very beginner, I turned up to a league session and I kept going around to people going, could you teach me how to play the game? Could you teach me as well? And I try to have my MetaFi open for every level of player. You know, don't get me wrong, it's really exciting when you are working with competitive standard players because you get to see, you know, that spark and that drive to do well in tournaments. One of my students at the minute is, you know, preparing for the next DLC, so it's really nice working with them and hoping that they're going to do so well. But then when you work with new players as well and you get to see that spark and the love for the game starting to develop, that's really rewarding as well. I think if it's something that you want to improve at, even if you don't want to go into competitive play, you just want to be better, you want to have more fun, you want to have more of a chance in your league nights, you know, and really show off to your friends. I think it's definitely something to at least try once and see what you think of it. And then if it improves your game and you have a good time doing it, you know, it's worth it in my book.
Yeah. But it's like anything, isn't it? It's just like, you know, if you're doing anything, not just TCG, it's literally anything, you know, the only way you get better is from practicing. And if you can have someone who knows more than you do to teach you, you know, so it's basically that. But yeah, so what would be your number one tip for anyone that is looking to improve? Obviously, you know, we know that you maybe keep your number one tip in for the coaching session. So maybe your number two tip.
Yeah, no. I think realistically, it's be aware of what's currently being played. I start every video that I make with saying inkdex.com is your best friend. I am on there every single day of the week. And if there's ever a tournament that has 30 plus players in it, I've looked at every single deck list in that tournament, you know, for a good solid 10 minutes each. It's so important to see what is changing, what is adapting, and what you need to be prepared for as well. So if you are wanting to be competitive, just be aware of your surroundings and then take the time to prepare accurately for that. Purple Steel was a great choice for Amber Steel, which is why we went in that direction. But if we're expecting a different decks, you might go somewhere else. It's knowledge is key, and it helps you out so much.
Nice.
Looking forwards, what are you most excited about for in Lorcana?
Oh, that's a really good question. I like that. It's a difficult one because you never really know what's coming around the corner. I think for the game, we're in such an exciting point at the minute, just because we're growing so much as a community. You know yourself, guys, as a kind of like upcoming YouTube channel, the buzz is really there. We're getting so many new players. There's so many people that want to learn. The Facebook page is filled with brand new players. And I think that's really, really great. And we want it to grow as much as possible. The same reason why I do my YouTube. I want to see everything grown so much. I can't say I'm not excited for some new shiny cards coming out. That is definitely something I'm really excited for. But, also on the side of seeing my channel grow a little bit, I'm really looking forward to seeing what can be made of this. One of my big kind of end goals in Lorcana is I'd really like to go into something like casting, working alongside the DLCs. So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to, and hopefully that's something I can explore in the future. And so if that did happen, well, you heard it here first, the Crawford Cardiff biggest excitement moment of the year.
No, that sounds good. So is there any particular franchise in Disney that's not in Lorcana at the minute that you would like to see? Or is there, I know you said obviously Zootropolis is one of your new faves, but, is there any franchise that you haven't seen yet that you would?
It's got to be Toy Story, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's such a basic answer, and I feel like I've done you a little bit of disjustice, like injustice there. I've not picked something really exciting. But, can you just imagine Buzz Lightyear, you've got a friend in me, like, that would pop. It would be the coolest set ever. And
Yeah.
I hate to say it, I think I'd probably spend all of my wages on that set as well, just to make sure I got the full collection.
Yeah, I am looking forward to be able to say, Woody takes out Elsa. It just there's something to it. There's a ring to it. So yeah, no, definitely looking forward to that one. So when we first had our very first guest on, for anyone who's new to the pod, we asked our viewers and our locals, if you could ask, at the time it's hard and sweet, we said, we've got him on the pod, what do you want to know? And one of our locals said, we need to know if he was going to be a soup, what soup would he be? So we were like, okay, well that's definitely a question, so we decided that was going to be our theme. So we ask every guest we have on the pod, so if you're a soup, what soup would you be?
I feel like this could be the biggest question I've ever been asked, gentlemen. This needs to be a good answer.
No pressure.
Right. So what I'm thinking here, and hear me out here, bear with me. I'm very basic. I like to describe myself as slightly vanilla. So I would be chicken soup, because not only is it just the most popular flavour, but it's also the simplest as well.
Nice. You can't beat a chicken soup,
Yeah.
Nice, straightforward, does what it says on the tin.
As expected, a chorus of boos as I gave that answer there. So we'll take the positive while we can.
No, well, we've had tomato soup, so we'll let you off.
Oh, that's a spicy pick, It's chicken and tomato. Come on, we're going up in the world.
So obviously, normally once we've asked a soup question, we normally say to our guests, we'll let you go and enjoy your evening. But unfortunately, we would actually like you to stick around. We'd actually trying to invite you to the rest of the podcast with us as we do a bit of a deep dive.
Does this mean that I can be a temporary uninkable dad for the night?
You do, yeah. We have given you a pass for the evening. You are a uninkable dad for the evening.
Represent with pride, gentlemen.
We know that obviously your ability to break down a deck and really pick out things that others don't see is, next level. So we wanted to have a look at a few of the DLC decks with you.
Yeah, sure.
So going on to DLC stuff, obviously we have the meta share from day one.
Yeah.
So was there anything that really jumped out to you here? I mean, I feel really sorry for the guy who took the one Ruby Sapphire deck for starters.
Oh no, I don't. We don't know who he is because I couldn't find who he was. But if you do watch Shadow, absolute respect. Shout out for sticking it out and repping Ruby Sapphire. So yeah, respect to you, sir or madam, whoever it was. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, one of our locals, Michael, he always runs red blue, and I did message him and be like, "Are you a DLC? Have you got?" You know. Yeah. I mean, there was no surprise really, was there? You know, there was a clear, obvious blurple here. You know, it's not even close. You know, they've nearly doubled the second popular deck. Was you surprised to see purple still quite this far down? You know, was you expecting a few more? Or?
I mean, not really, to be honest. It's Purple Steel's not been that popular. Like I say, it seems to be just one of those decks where if you're not wanting to play, you know, Amethyst Sapphire or Emerald Sapphire, it's that nice kind of in between. So I think it makes sense that it is slightly lower. But the one thing I'm really surprised about is the Emerald Steel. That's obviously that had a really strong performance at the DLC, so I was really shocked seeing that there. You know, it's nice seeing something that's so anti-meta, I suppose. You know, it's not in that big triad of the top decks, and it's just been completely unheard of, even on all the commentating channels. So somebody performing like that with it, you know, that was absolutely nuts. I was shocked when I seen it.
So we'll get onto that deck because
we did say that.
Yeah, we have mentioned Emerald Steel on the last 2 episodes, so we were very happy to see someone. And it was a budget deck. So the last couple of episodes we've talked about
it was
Emerald Steel budget versions. You know, if somebody was looking for something to take into set champs, couldn't afford the top decks, and this was a budget deck. I think it was coming up at around the sort of $80 mark for the deck. So it does show,
not bad.
Yeah, shows you haven't got to have, you know, all of the expensive cards. You haven't got to have 4 Dumbos to compete at the top level.
And it's funny you say it as well. It's like I say, the set jumps that I just played at. I played against a gentleman who was playing Emerald Steel locations, and honestly, it was my hardest match for the whole champs. The first game, he absolutely slaughtered me. Got a bunch of locations down, 4 hidden coves into a John Silver, and then hit down a go-go, bounced back the go-go, won the game with a go-go. I've got footage live of me just looking at him going, how do I play against you? So, yeah, that took me by surprise. And I only just scraped the win on that. And, you know, that's coming off a CCQ solid performance. And he nearly battered me. So, your budget decks can go wild, guys.
Yeah, it is there. So, but did they make day 2? So, the day 2 meta share we did have 6 of them convert to day 2. So, I mean, that's not bad.
Well,
you know,
I think for the small amount of it as well, that's decent.
Yeah, I mean, the conversion rate is basically the same as Blurple. So,
yeah.
Haven't done too bad.
I mean, when you have 683 Blurple decks, you are going to run into quite a lot of situations where Blurple are knocking Blurple out. Yeah. So the conversion rate is always going to be slightly off. But even then, you know, the one that shocked me here is the Amber Emerald deck. You know, we're talking dogs here, you know, and 28% is huge. That's you know, they managed to take a really good chunk, but I don't know how many of them then made like top 64 and top 32. I don't know how far they went on day 2, but to get 28% of the decks across to day 2, it's a big number.
I mean, the dogs deck is just absolutely nuts to begin with. JDRR talked about it, and it's such like a great counter towards Blurple, just because when they hit turn, you can't do anything against it. And I think really it's just so smart, somebody clicking on, yeah, you know what, this could be a really good matchup. And it definitely makes sense why I've done so well. It's a match that, you know, I'm a little bit worried about going into because I've not had as much opportunity of playing against it recently, just because it kind of fell off the cliff, so to speak, going into the new set. But yeah, I think that's definitely one that's going to be popping right up to the top of the meta in the forthcoming weeks. Definitely for set champs as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also one of those ones of it. We've said before, you know, if you can find a deck that wins going first and you win your dice rolls, it's almost, you know, we're playing best of 3 here. You're going to go first twice, you know. So, which is what you know, Amber does. You know, when you win that dice roll, you pretty much win that game. You have to be a bit unlucky to not get a decent hand and get going with that deck. So, obviously, Amythest Steel obviously got a good conversion rate here, and you know, I reckon a lot of people were sitting down watching your video just before. You know, they were like, "Oh, look, we're gonna, you know, use this." So that was
it would be nice,
second highest conversion rate.
Yeah, second highest.
Yeah,
Came second overall.
I just think it's such a strong deck. Like I say, it's just not got the weak matchup. I
Mm.
will say I think Purple Steel is going to get even better, especially if Dogs do go up. I would say Dogs is one of the matchups that Purple Steel is actually quite strong against. So if we are making that prediction that Dogs could go up, I think Purple Steel definitely look at. Realistically, the less Blurple we have, the better Purple Steel is going to be. That's the only kind of one
Yeah.
match which is like the kind of Hail Mary where you either need to get it or you don't.
Yeah. It was like I said at the start of the podcast. It's I run Blurple at Set Champs this weekend, and I run into 4 Amber Steel decks, and it just put me off playing Blurple in Set Champs because it's like I don't enjoy this matchup. It's horrendous. I won 1 dice roll, and that's the 1 game against Amber Steel that I won. The other 3 I lost because they were just going first. In Daisy into Nala into Tiana into Pluto. It's like, well, GG, shake my hand, let's go next.
Yeah, 100%.
So you're all right, like you say. If Dogs keeps creeping up and creeping up, Blurple will come down, and therefore we may have a big meta shift just before the end of the set, which could be quite interesting.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I just think this is really the healthiest meta that we've had for such a long time. And discussion about this at League last night, and it's the big thing for me. I just like that we have so many different decks that are really coming in. It felt like we got to a really stagnant point of it was just, when's Ruby Sapphire going to win the next tournament? And as much as it's a shame for Ruby losing literally all their good cards, and it's definitely not what it used to be, Ruby Amythest is still seeing people play it. Fling-a-Ding is still a solid list. It's it's still up there, but it's just so nice seeing such that big variety at the minute, and I really hope it sticks.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It seems to be a bit of a mixed out there. It's like I've spoken to people who they don't enjoy this matter at all, and I think that's because the only people I've spoke to who have had sort of a negative on it are the people that are the control players as such, because no one enjoys Blurple mirrors. It's not fun. I normally enjoy a mirror. I'm normally quite good in a mirror. I always manage to see the play lines to get round a mirror. I do quite well. I don't enjoy Blurple Mirror. It's a real grindy game, and it's one of those ones of half the time you feel like there's no way of coming back once you're started to lose the game. So it'd be interesting to see, but I think there are definitely more decks out there now than there was in the previous couple of sets. Last set, for instance, Red Blue pretty much won everything. If you weren't playing Red Blue, you were probably playing aggro. That was about it.
And I think it's nice that it's taken a few weeks for that sort of innovation to come through, I think, and we're really seeing it now with all these different decks. But what I think is nice is that even if you pick up the color pairing, if you pick, Amber Steel, if you pick Amythest Steel, Blurple, it isn't that you've got 60 cards locked in. And we were almost there with sort of Ruby Sapphire at times when that was the deck list. It was the DKP list. That was it. End of. Yeah, I think that there's room for people to express themselves a little bit, and so it might be I'm playing Blurple, but I'm playing my slight twist on Blurple. I'm playing my slight twist on Amber Steel.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
This was 8th place, I believe, in DLC. So. But as we say, with decks being locked down, is there anything here that you see that's not standard for this? As far as I can see, this is quite a straightforward 60.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, most of them are a very similar build, aren't they? And I think what's nice is seeing the Under the Sea in the dog stacks now. That's different to what we were getting last set, and it does make the deck kind of stand out a bit more. I think it needed that kind of bigger end removal. But, it's so quick being able to go with the daisies, the Lilos, the tramps, and then on top of that, being able to wipe the board as well on top of it. One of the big things that I have liked seeing recently is the scrumps, that minus the attack. That's been really cool seeing with Under the Sea, and it's a nice little tech option just to be able to get that across. I really like Under the Sea as a card, but the big kind of beef with me of it as a card is the easy way around it is just playing 3 strength characters. I said to Alphos after our match in the Cardiff CCQ, I was like, I'm literally just going to play 3 strength characters and play around Under the Sea. And if they don't find heads held high, they can't do anything. So with dogs, if you don't have that option. What are you going to use? It has to be something like Scrump.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that's exert a character to give something minus strength, isn't it?
Yes.
So obviously it works relatively well in this deck because they normally go quite wide, quite quick. So you do have a fair amount of characters to exert. But yeah, and this is obviously, like I say, I believe this was 8th place, so it did quite well with even without it. But going on to the first place deck was obviously, as we know, was a Blurple deck.
Yeah,
So,
and it's a bit of a weird list, isn't it? He has teched quite oddly, and I do like that. The magical maneuvers you're definitely not seeing in a lot of the Blurple. That's something that's really standing out, and then the Ursula as well. I've spoke to quite a few players about the Ursula, and what they tend to be saying is they really like that it's just another opportunity to exert your opponent's characters. It's that almost fifth Elsa, so to speak. And in Blurple, Elsa is just one of the best cards that you can play, just being able to keep that board control. But, on top of it, being able to sing a song as well, if you do have that Into the Unknown in your hand, getting that off for free, it's like an additional Hades. It can really get you back into the game really quickly. I like that it's different. I'm not sure on the one jump personally, but I do really like the dig a little deeper. I think that's really cool tech to add in.
Yeah, Ursula was something I was playing around with in mine, and it was one of those ones at locals. It was doing me so well, it was like you say, a lot of boards they go wide and they go, if you got Elsa, you got Elsa. It's like, well, I don't have Elsa, but I do have Ursula. It's it does the same job. So that was quite nice for me to see. And then obviously one thing I was playing around with the idea of was dig a little deeper, because in the mirror you've got the Elsa and the Monstro that they play down, and that with Ursula you can play that for free. Looking at the top 7 and keeping 2 of them for free is always going to be a good thing. And then the one jump, I did run that through Cardiff. So with the CCQ, I had that in there to try and not guarantee the ramp, but I don't think I missed ramp all day with 2 one jump in. So I can see what's there, but there's a lot of one-offs for a meta and a format where we're not drawing 75% of the cards like we were last set. These one-offs feel like, are you ever actually going to see them?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I am very keen on tech cards. That was something that I was very big on for my Axion list. I think toolbox decks just really, really stand out because you have that many options. It's really important with your counts in Lorcana. A lot of people do tend to think, your standard 4-ofs, if you don't need 4 of it in the deck, then you don't need it. But there are certain times where you pull that card and it just feels like a really nuts play. And I think having that one of, if it's going to help you in a specific matchup, I think it's definitely worth considering for.
And I guess most of the techs here, either, magical maneuvers is inkable, the others are generally uninkable, but they're cards that you're going to play, right? You want to play dig a little deeper, you want to play second star to the right. Elsa is a good card in lots of situations. So, I think that's okay. You're not really playing a card that's just dead unless it hits in this certain situation. These are cards that you want to play.
I mean, what's your opinion on the second starter, right? We're getting quite a few players now that are going down to that 1 count, but I really value it as a 2. I think Blurple, just especially in the mirror, you win on either the evasive wars or card draw. As much as Dig a Little Deeper does get you the answer you might need, being able to draw 5 cards on a single turn is scary big.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, as playing as much Blurple as I have done, I found that the Finders Keepers and second star you have to have in the deck, because if you don't and your opponent does, you lose the game straight away.
Yeah.
It's basically who can sing second star first. If you manage to get that second star off first, you're then flooding the board quicker than your opponent, and therefore you're trying to react to them instead of them reacting to you, and that wins you the game on the spot. I've got to admit, it is quite. I keep making the silly mistake, and I'm hoping, it's in my head now. I'm going to get it out of me for set champs. I keep having like a Bell and an Elsa on board, and then I'm like, oh, they can't challenge the Elsa, it's evasive across a bit. And then they do something, get rid of the Elsa. I'm like, oh, I needed that to sing second star. I shouldn't have done that. That one extra lure. But yeah, it's easily done. But I think it's definitely one of those cards, unfortunately, especially in the mirror, if you don't have it and they do, it kind of wins at the game as soon as they sing it. So I think it kind of has to be in there just in case. So.
It's a shame because I don't know about you, a lot of the times when I've played Blurple, I've had so many kind of mid-game turns where I've been low on resources and I'm waiting to get that draw card. I draw it into the second start, and either, like happened with your Elsa, it gets popped early and you can't sing it off and you're just stuck in a really poor position, or you're just naturally a little bit short to be able to get it off and it just feels like there's nothing you can do for a few turns.
Yeah. Yeah, I said in, I think in previous episodes that it's one of those ones of inking to play 7-star never feels good, because it's like if you're on 9 ink and you ink to 10 and then hardcast it, you've still done nothing that turn. Yes, you've drawn 5 cards, but that is it. You know, you've done nothing else. So yeah, if you have to hardcast it, I think you kind of straight up lose there. So it can be a bit of a brick, but then I suppose that's the risk you take with such a heavy card draw. You know, it's not a dock. You're not getting 2, you're getting 5. So you know you do have that potential of bricking. So, but moving on from there, I'm sure. Obviously, this was the winner himself. We have the purple steel decks, which I'm sure I'm sure you've seen these. I'm sure you've already broken them all down, picked out the good bits, thrown away the cannons, as we know that you now don't like it.
It's, once again, it just depends on what matchups you're going into. And it's the one thing I will say that I do really like is the Happy in the deck. Happy and Jafar and Smee. Obviously, the whole point of this deck is they've really went in on the evasive package, and it just means that Dumbo, you're getting so much more use out of. It has been something that I've been considering myself, but I just found that it was weakening the kind of quicker matches for me. So I'm a little bit hesitant to go in that direction. You know, like I say, the big benefit, it does mean when you hit down a Dumbo, you get an instant value from it, so you don't need to wait to the late game. But when I've tested Happy personally, I've just found that Rafiki was always kind of a stronger draw with it, just so I can control at that early point of the game. I do really like Smee as the additional 2 cost, getting the evasive being a 3-2. If you combine that with your hypnotic strength, you're taking out a 4 cost Genie, which is a great play. Pete, not too much of a fan of, but we know my thoughts on that. What I do find interesting, though, is the going down to 2 copies of the White Rose. That seems really interesting to me. For me, White Rose is just such a clutch card in games at just being able to get that passive lore across. You know, there's plenty of times where you get to a point where you just can't quest. Even in the mirror with Purple Steel, my top 16 match, I got absolutely buried in one of the matches because Luke, who came second in the end, just got 4 Calhouns back-to-back against me. And I was like, well, cool, I'm not questing for this game then. But, you know, Rose and Cobra is just such a nice way to be able to get yourself back in the game, still develop your board, but still get the lore. So, yeah, interesting that taken down on that count. But 4 copies of Yzma, we love that. That is exciting.
And I saw a couple of times where there were like evasives on the board, and they played out Yzma. The opponent took Yzma out, so then they dropped the Dumbo. So
yeah,
it's
once again it's the backup draw engine, isn't it? It's you know, Dumbo is when it sets off, Dumbo is broken. Like, if you have the board for it, Dumbo is such an unreal card, and I think it really will win games. It's just actually being in a position where you can get the benefit from it. Whereas Yzma, if they don't have that immediate removal, spam out your board, draw 3, go into a dock, like, you don't come back from that. Your board's going to be so wide that it's just unbreakable. Like, yes, if they manage to get rid of a couple of them with maybe Smash or, you know, a Strength, fair enough, but they've had to waste their removal on it as well, which means there's less removal for your Dumbo.
Yeah, exactly. They can only answer 1. So, going on from there, this was the 3rd place one. Obviously, we had another Purple Steel. We were, you know, at one point we were thinking it might be a Purple Steel final, you know, but unfortunately it wasn't quite the case.
We can dream.
So this is going a little bit more towards what I would say yours was closer to. Obviously, like you say, you got the 4 White Rose in here. They have put the 3 Yzma in. They're still sticking with fire cannons, obviously. This game, the one thing we love about this game is that it is personal preference, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, there are 60 cards in the deck, but you can put whatever 60 you want in, you know, if you really don't want to run any uninkables at all, because you don't want to ever risk not having ink. You can do that, you know. The flexibility of this game is, you know, one thing that people love about it. So, but what are your thoughts on the Palace Guard as the one?
Palace Guard is a weird one for me, and once again, it's very meta dependent. I think in a slower meta, when we're expecting a lot of Blurple, then the card's absolutely nuts, because realistically, if they want rid of it, they're going to have to drop Hypnotic Strength into it. And that's just, it's a waste of a turn from them. Like, why would they do that on a one cost? So you will get quite a lot of lore just with it sitting on the board, and that's really, really nice. I think with a lot of Purple Steel, it can be risky because, like you said, a lot of people are starting to tech in cannons now. I don't hate cannons taking out a Palace Guard, but you would prefer it on a Cobra. So yeah, it kind of sits there really nicely. The whole reason I dropped Palace Guard for Rafiki was literally just because I expected so many Amber Steel decks coming off Skylar's PPG win. You know, I really wanted the benefit of being able to take out Daisy straight away. You can see with the deck that they've got Mim Tiny Adversary in there as well, which is such a nuts card. Being able to play that on turn 2 to give you Rafiki Challenger 1, take out your Daisy straight away. It's you really get in control very quickly there. Whereas with when you're relying on Palace Guard and Diablo, they just don't really have that backbone to challenge as much. So if it's a slower meta, I think Palace Guard is the clear choice. And, you know, definitely makes sense. But if we do get quicker decks and, you know, dogs going up, I would lean more to Rafiki.
Yeah, it's interesting when, like you say, that they decided to go with the Jafar as well here to obviously maximise on the Dumbo. But yeah, it's obviously a very solid list. He did very well with it. So, but we're starting to get that thing of where the middle of this deck seems very not locked down as such, but it is very starting to come together, which obviously will only improve the deck as it goes. You know, the stronger and stronger the core becomes, the stronger the deck becomes. So
yeah.
But then the last one that we've got to look at is obviously the full place one, which was our Emerald Steel, what we call budget deck. Obviously, unfortunately, there's no such thing as a budget deck in Lorcana. You know, they're still £100, but you know that is budget compared to the £500-600 decks that are out there. So, this is very interesting. This is very, very close to what we were looking at a few weeks ago. So we started looking at Emerald Steel. It was about 3 weeks, if not 4 weeks ago. And we said, you know, we think it's got a really good chance. There's a lot of things that really make things awkward in this deck, including the ward. You know, so if you had come across something like this, you know, how do you play around this with Purple Steel?
It's hard to do. So since this done so well, I have actually been doing a little bit of testing on it myself, just because it's one of those decks that you don't really expect. And as a base, it's not too far off the style that Emerald Amythest was for Tempo previously, so it did kind of line up quite nicely with me. Merfolk at the start, and then Fred as well. You get a surprising amount of lore off, and then controlling the board with Calhoun, forcing a Louis to control the board. You know, it's got a lot of legs behind it, and it's definitely very strong. The only thing that I found when I was playing with it is I didn't always get the quick cards at the beginning, and I felt that when I didn't get those quick cards, it just felt a little bit slow. And when I got to the end games, I definitely struggled. But one thing I will definitely say is because not a lot of people are expecting the green decks. You know, you see Steel come down, you immediately go, okay, is it Amber Steel or Amythest Steel? You don't expect the Ursula on the turn 2 anymore. The amount of times I keep getting caught out because I mull for the strength in my hand and go, yep, I've got my curve, I'm going to win the game, lose my strength from the Ursula, and then just all of a sudden I can't play, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, how far off do you think we are of starting to see item removal come back in as well? You know, the Chromacon in this and in green blue can really, really mess things up. You know, it can obviously Purple Steel, I think not as much because you just go for the race instead. You just try and outlaw them and get the game before they can. But I know playing against something like this with Blurple, it's, you know, I literally had this in Cardiff where I'd full control of the board and I went to slap down a monster and they slapped down the Chromacon. And it's like, well, I hit one thing with my monster and it'll go back to my hand. Thank you very much. You know, so do you think we're far off seeing item removal come back, or?
I don't think so. It's even with my deck being kind of strong into this and strong into dogs as an option as well. It is something I'm a little bit worried about, and I'm starting to edge in that direction myself. You know, great example of it. Set champs in the last set, I played against somebody who had a very similar style deck to this, and he kept catching me out because he was bouncing his dock back with Emerald Chromicon.
Yeah.
So I physically couldn't challenge his board state because he was drawing so much. And with an aggro deck, if you keep bouncing dock, it's unlimited draw and it's so hard to beat. But not only that, the go-goes as well. Being purple steel, it's not too bad for us because if they do send my hand back, I can at least layer my board again. But 2 Emerald Chromicons, what do you do against it, especially with something like purple? Yeah. I think the next set is where Chromicon is going to become absolutely hideous. I don't know if you've seen Goofy Emerald Champion.
Yeah.
I am phobic of that card combined with Emerald Chromicon. It's being able to give everything ward, and then I think it's when a character challenges into it, they get banished. And then Chromicon bouncing cards back to the hand as well. It's going to be so hard to beat that deck. So, Chromicon and that with dogs in the next set, or even Emerald Steel, like, yikes.
Yeah. I think there's definitely potentially a spot for the Inkable Benger, the item removal in some of the steel decks. He quests for 2 anyway, so it's not like you're giving up massive amounts to fit him in. But like I say, when they played a Chromicon against me, it just ended my game. To the point where I'm actually thinking of putting Alice in Blurple just to get rid of the Chromicon. Just because it ends the game there on the spot with Blurple. So. It was quite an interesting one. Was there anything in this that really stood out to you as a real key card or anything that?
I mean, not so much stood out, but I think it's just a really nice functioning deck. It's got all the basics there for it. I like that it's got the end removal, saying that purple still has. You can try on the board fine with the Calhoun and the Louis. It's just like I say, go Doc and the Chromicon. That's the big scary cards for the deck, and putting that with an aggro deck, it's hard to beat. If they get curve, once again, it's going to be a really, really decent one.
So we've sort of spoken on the channel before. I've said, I think Lorcana's got a bit of an internal struggle going on. Disney and Ravensburger clearly want this to be a very family-friendly, Disney social game, which is fantastic because that's what we want. That's what we love about it. But reality is that it is a competitive side of the game that currently makes Disney Lorcana financially viable. Hasn't got the collector base as yet, as something like Pokemon has to support that side of it. And I just noticed, I was reading through Lorcana Player, so if people are not familiar with the site, does some really good write-ups of events and things. And on there, it had a number of the judge calls written down on there. And it interested me that we're at a DLC, so this is the biggest open event that Lorcana does. There's a world's place on the line. There's golden Mickeys on the line, and some of these judge calls resolve situations in a way that I think we would have resolved the situation if we were playing at our locals with our mates. Not the way that I think the situation should have been resolved in a highly competitive tournament. So just one example was a play, and all of these, none of these, by the way, I don't think any of these were people cheating or doing anything intentionally wrong. But there's one situation where somebody inked twice when they inked twice for turn, so there was they shouldn't have inked twice. They played a character down which they needed all of their ink to do. It wasn't picked up. The judge picked it up a turn later or something, and resolved it by shuffling one of their ink back into their deck, but leaving the character on board that they played that they didn't have enough ink for.
Yeah.
Might have been, as I say, it might have been the way you sort it out between mates and just go, "Oh, chuck one of those ink back and let's get on with it." It didn't quite feel like the a major tournament sort of resolution. There were a couple of other ones that were, I won't go through the details, but where people have done that and it was like, "Oh, you've drawn an extra card, well, I'll just shuffle it back in the deck and we'll get on with it." It was interesting to me because I think there is this tussle going on within what is Disney Lorcana trying to be, what does it want to be, where does it go? But it also slightly concerned me that it, this, if there is no downside to inking twice, if there's no downside to drawing an extra card, because the worst that's going to happen is that extra card gets shuffled back in the deck, you've lost nothing. Does that open up to people thinking, I could maybe take advantage of this at a major tournament?
A little bit of a difficult one, isn't it? I think, first of all, we do need to say, to begin with, a massive shout out to the judges that we do have in the game so far. I think they do get a lot of heat and a lot of unfair heat sometimes. A lot of these are players that are just using their own knowledge of the game, their own love for the game, and they're putting a lot into it, which, for me, and I'm sure the same as you guys, really, really appreciative of. The big kind of downfall for me is I think the judges haven't had enough training as should have been put towards them. But we do also need to accept that the game is still in its infancy as well. We're in season 2 now, but in the grand scale of things, if we look at, Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, Magic, they're games that have been going on for years. We still see big issues in the games, but, they've had a lot of time to be able to iron things out, get a little bit more used to things, and the judges had a lot more support there. So, Ramberger, it really is doing their best with it. They're trying to learn as they go, but they are brand new to this as well. Now, on the other side of things, I do completely agree with you that if we are in a world-class event like a DLC, we do need that professionalism. We need to be strict with the rules. And we don't want a situation where cheating feels like it's encouraged or something that you can get away with. There was a couple of incidents at the DLC that I saw myself. I will admit, I think a lot of them could have just been put down to an accident. I didn't really spot anything where I thought it was, a definitive form of somebody trying to force an advantage into the game. I do always like to give the benefit of the doubt, and I will also say on stream, especially at a large event, when the pressure's on, it's so easy to make a mistake and not even think about it.
Yeah.
The double inking one, quite a few people have really kicked off online, so to speak, about it. And then, they're right, it's wrong, and it's not part of the rules, but it didn't look like somebody was trying to directly get the advantage. It just looked like they were really in that game, really feeling it, and then just not obviously noticed. I would say that I'd like the judges to be able to pick up on those things, straight away, since we do have judges sit with on streams, and it is something that I think needs to be ironed out. But it's just going to need something we need to work with as a community to sort. Dodgeball, Ultimate Frisbee, they're all very fair play games. It's almost self-refereed, and I feel like we're almost in that with Lorcana at the minute. It's one of those games where it's, if you do make that error, you call judge on yourself. And I don't know about you guys, but I've seen loads of people do it at the CCQ. People tend to be very honest, and our community is really strong in this game. We have so many players that will go, yeah, you know what, sorry, let me call judge on myself. I made the mistake. And that's really great to see. But we do also have some players that will take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it in the... I was rewatching the final game back from DLC at lunch today, and you see there was a judge calling that, and it was the player called it on himself. He accidentally picked up 2 cards when he should have picked up 1, put the top one straight back down again, and went, judge, I've seen it, what do we need to do? So obviously that would have got shuffled in and whatever else, otherwise that player's got, unfair knowledge. But it's one of those ones of, unfortunately, like you say, with the double winking situation of, it's really difficult to answer that because you have to rewind the entire game. If you spot it early, it's possible. If you spot it 3-4 turns later, that's going to be really difficult to work out exactly what's happened and take that game back to that game state that it was when it happened. So it's a really difficult thing to police. And unfortunately, like you say, the judges, the head judges and the top level of it, I think, are very good, very experienced. They've got the game knowledge there. It's just unfortunately where at the minute we don't have a judge program or anything like that. These little mistakes are going to happen, and we do have the judge quiz thing coming out. I can't remember what it's called now. The test, I think it was. That's coming up hopefully in the next couple of months and bits like that. So hopefully we're going to get more and more just all round like uniformity with what's going on, which would be nice. But like you say, we are still early into this game, and it would be interesting to see if there would be any differences in 6-8 months' time. But consistency is kind of the one thing we're kind of missing at the minute. But it's hard when, like you said, there's no program, there's no set rules, there's no set thing for them to follow. So, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see going forward. So.
I mean, do you guys think it's improved at all since season 1? I mean,
definitely.
Just for me, I think the kind of polarity and the amount of judges at tournaments has definitely increased. The judges feel a lot more in control to me, and they really do seem quite on it with their knowledge, which I'm really happy with as well. One of my friends judged at the CCQ, Chris. He done amazing job there, and he was so excited about being at the event, and I think that's so nice seeing the judges really want to be there to help the players.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, I went to the Birmingham last year, and obviously judges are there, but I don't really remember seeing that many. Whereas like CCQ, there was loads. It was like you literally couldn't turn away from any angle of where you're sitting and not see a judge. It wasn't like you had to call judge and wait 10 minutes for them to come from the other end of the room. There was one probably within 2 tables away from you, which is nice to see. You got all these players there, and that judge calls do happen. People make mistakes, people are unsure on things. That's what they're there for. But yeah, I think it is definitely improving, and I think it's one of those ones that it's just going to get better and better with time. So it'll be interesting, and I'm excited to see where it can really go with it. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think as you quite rightly said, Zach, we're very lucky to have the judges that we have, and they're putting their time into doing it. It's lots of them play Disney Lorcana, so they're giving up on the opportunity to be sitting there playing as well in order to judge, because we need judges at these events. So very, very lucky to have them. And I think they're trying to resolve things in a fair way, keep the game going. They realise that a lot of players are on stream as well. It was really interesting actually when one thing in DLC Bologna was that it was a really stacked event with some really experienced players, but they weren't on stream. A lot of the players that were actually on stream games were players who maybe have not been on stream before, and that's a big thing as well. You suddenly know that there's all eyes on you. So yeah, people will make mistakes, and as I say, I'm absolutely convinced that these were all genuine mistakes. These were not people trying to gain an advantage. So you don't necessarily want to come down too hard on people, but I just think it is that level of consistency, because I think we've seen certain tournaments where the judging has been actually quite strict, and then other tournaments where it's not been so strict. And I think we just needs to find, as you say, it's early days, and so the game needs to mature and find that balance. But I just think it's kind of an interesting internal battle that's going on at the moment for exactly how this game is going to settle down.
I think at the end of the day, it's baby steps, but we're going in the right direction, which I'm definitely happy with. And as long as we're having those small improvements every single time, that's something that I'm always going to take away as a big positive. If we do get a bit stagnant with it, and it doesn't seem to go anywhere, then more conversations need to happen at that point. But for the meantime, I think massive well done to the judges, well done to Ravensburg, and let's keep going and try and get an even better game for an already great game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have to say the quality of the production was incredible.
Right? Yeah,
I mean, that was absolutely world class. I sat and watched it, and it's a card game in its second year or whatever. And this was like watching some absolutely polished production of professionals, and actually none of the casters are professionals. They're all people that have come in and love playing Lorcana, and then got involved in it, in that side of it. And I just thought the casting, the production, it was a wonderful event to watch. Taking note of your tips earlier, I should have been watching it, as Michael says, with a pen and paper in my hand and making more notes. I was just being thoroughly entertained and getting excited along with Kim and the other casters when somebody shifts a Mulan on top of a Mulan.
I think that's the best thing about the casters, though, isn't it? You know, I always go back to Baker as he was kind of the first YouTuber that I ever watched with Lorcana. I really value his energy, and seeing him on camera, hearing him commentate with just so much energy, enthusiasm, and when you see the commentators get excited for the plays, you can't help but to get excited as a viewer as well. I spoke to Kimberly at the CCQ, and she was absolutely buzzing for doing the commentating for it. You know, and that was really, really wholesome to see somebody so excited to be able to commentate the event. You know, we had such a mix of background from the commentators, and each game felt like so fresh and so different with a different take on it. And it was nice hearing those like individual voices. We went from a game where it was, okay, yeah, we've got Spessy and Baker, you know, doing the commentary. That makes sense. They're really well known. To now just this whole coalition of amazing commentators who are just doing such a great job. So yeah, but can we take a minute to appreciate how good the camera looked? My God, so much better than season 1. It was mind-blowing.
You can actually see the cards.
Right?
It wasn't guessing what they're playing. You can actually tell.
No more charades. We have proper visuals now in Lorcana.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And matching dice as well. You know, none of this teeny tiny dice from season 1. But yeah, no, it's overall, like you say, it's been a massive improvement, and it's like you say, the game is just starting out, so we're going to get more and more. You know, it's like if you look at a lot of people, you know, if you look at big Pokemon tournaments that get streamed and the production of that, you know, we could end up somewhere near there. You know, we could end up with this thing where you got this massive stage and, you know, stuff like that. But it's going to take time. You know, at the end of the day, the game is still growing. But one thing you did say a second ago is obviously with the whole thing of people being nervous being on stream and stuff. It's like, did you end up on the stream at the CCQ?
No, I was really gutted actually. So the poor girl that I was playing against, she got asked in the previous match, and she said, "I'm really sorry, I can't go on stream because I get migraines." I was sitting next to her at the time. I played against her in the next round. The judges came over to me and went, "Do you want to go on stream?" And I burst out my chair. I was like, "Yeah, yes, please, go on." And then I looked at her and went, "Oh no," and she went, "Yeah, I'm really sorry, I can't go on." So bless her, I felt awful for her, but I was so close, boys, so close.
I was going to say, because that's the thing. It's like doing this. It's like it wouldn't bother me.
Yeah,
it wouldn't phase me at all. If anything, I'd be like, yeah, I'll go. It's like I'll be the one sitting there, like showing my hand to the camera. You know, it's like I know where this camera is. You want to see what's in my hand? I know. You know.
My only worry is I feel like, you know, on the inside I'm like, yeah, I'd look really cool on the stream. You know, great publicity. I'm gonna absolutely ace it. But I can also imagine the commentators just sitting there like, so Zak's just made the worst play of a lifetime here. Can I question that?
Yeah, now we have that on YouTube for you forever. You can go back and watch that misplay whenever you want.
That was my wallpaper.
But no, thank you very much for joining us today. I think we've wrapped up everything we can with DLC. And yeah, you know, your knowledge of the game and the knowledge of breaking down decks is, you know, it is next level. So obviously, where can people find your channel? Obviously, we will link it and stuff in the description. But, you know, where can people come across for that, you know, in-depth look into deck lists?
Oh, boys, I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this. I get to do a channel plug. Come on, let's go. So, to all the lovely viewers watching on the Uninkable Dads channel, you can find me at Crawford Kana on YouTube. I have loads of fresh content there for you. I do match play, I do in-depth deck guides, and lots of beginner tips as well, so definitely check it out. If you do want any coaching on Metafy, same Metafy at Crawford Kana. I would love to work with some new players and help you get to your goals. I cannot wait to hear from some more of you. But can we take a minute to appreciate the two wonderful gentlemen on this channel? Thank you so much for the invite, boys. I've had a fantastic time chatting to you. If for some reason you are crazy and you have not subscribed to their channel already, please make sure to hit the subscribe button straight away. I want to get this channel right into 1,000 ASAP, okay? So, Uninkable Dads, let's go.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. So, yeah, we will let you enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you very much for coming on.
Awesome. Can't wait to see you on the next one, guys. All the best. Bye.
We'll do. Right.
Cheers, Zach.
Okay, so that was obviously our interview, and not even an interview, really. You know, he's a joint co-host. You know, he had the Uninkable. I didn't get his Uninkable Dad's token back off him. I've got to go get that. You know, he was an honorary one. We've got to get that pass back off him. You know, he can't be walking around with the Uninkable Dad's pass. But yeah, so we'll go on to our Art Matters game, and we had a few reach out to us again this time around. So anyone, as a reminder, it was from the art alone, which art or card would you want as a pet? This was because of Zan taking dogs to a CCQ last week. So Big Noodle has come up with, is this Marie,
I think.
Marie. So yeah, a nice kitten. You know, are you a kitten fan? I know you're a dog fan, but are you a kitten fan?
No.
No?
I'm not particularly an animal fan.
Not a cat man.
Yeah, I'm not particularly a pet fan at all, actually. Even though we've got a house full of them.
You don't like them. You just got them.
We just got them. But no, I can appreciate Marie. Looks like a very chilled pet. Looks like she might be a bit of a diva, a bit high maintenance. You probably got to buy the right cat food, but
yeah, definitely none of that. You know, Tesco value food. You know, it's got to be top level. So yeah, moving on. We had this one was a Fizzle, Tamatoa. They're the ones that picked the Tamatoa shiny for their cosplay last week. So yeah,
Tamatoa fan.
Yeah, I mean, I did have, when I was younger, I did have terrapins as a pet, in a fish tank. So it's not quite, the little crab that is Tamatoa, but, it was close. It's close. And then we also had Joe, Mr. Jim with Tuk Tuk. So, I mean, he does look cute.
He does look cute, doesn't he? Doesn't he also grow into, like, a huge thing that you can ride on?
Yeah, he rolls up. Yeah.
So
yeah, he rolls up and you can ride on his back even though his back's spinning.
Yeah. So
Disney physics.
A cute pet and transport. Yeah.
Perfect. What more could you want? So going from there, we have Grandad Glenn's pet.
Yeah. Well, it had to
now. Be. Yeah.
It
was always going to be a puppy, wasn't it?
Yeah. We've seen the puppies. We talked about the puppy deck. So the only question really was which...
Are you going to call one of them Rolly?
Funny enough, actually, one of them is a bit chubby. He seems to be stealing the milk from the others. So yeah, he might well be Rolly. But yeah, it was just a question of which
comment below on a name for the puppies.
Yeah, actually, so there's 3 puppies, 2 boys and a girl. So yeah, they all need names. None of them have names at the moment. Daisy is being floated as the girl's name potentially, but we haven't settled. Okay, we haven't settled on anything as yet. So yeah, let us know in the comments.
And then now you going for puppies is just as typical as what I went for. Okay, now I wish I could have this as a pet, just because I miss it. I want Bucky. Bring back Bucky. Bring back Bucky. I even had to go into deep dive to find the original art with the original text. I didn't want that, errated Bucky. I want the original Bucky. So yeah. Little squirrel. You can come help me out. Climb into people's hands and throw away their cards. He is a discard squirrel after all. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not going to happen.
No, I don't think you could take him out in public on your shoulder like that. I think there'd be too many angry Lorcana players with shotguns around.
Yeah, that squirrel's not allowed in here. Do you know what? I need that as a mascot now. Like, I sit down at a table and put a Bucky next to it. It just put fear into players straight away. I don't even have to do anything else. Okay, so as we obviously had Zach on this evening, and he is a teacher himself, this week we're going with which art by art alone would make the best substitute teacher. So you're in school, your normal teacher's not there. Who would you want to turn up and be like, I'm teaching today? So yeah, let us know who's going to make the best teacher. It can be for multiple reasons. Let us know your reason. If you pick one, let us know. Is it because they look like they're going to be a fun teacher? Does it look like they're going to be one that just lets you get away with everything? Are they going to be the computer and the internet's over there? Have fun. I'll see you when the bell rings. Let us know your reason. But yeah, who would make the best substitute teacher. So that is all we have time for this week. We've had a massively packed episode. Obviously, like we say, don't forget about that giveaway. Press those little buttons, add in your entries, and hit that subscribe button. But as always, it's time to roll up that playmat.
Pack away the dice.
And remember, stay uninkable.
See you next time.
See you next time.